Okay, we're back, everyone. Dr. Aima Ahonkhai from Vanderbilt University Medical Center is with us. She is an infectious disease expert. We're talking tonight about the COVID-19 booster shot. If you've gotten a booster shot, we'd love to hear from you. Give us a call. If you're considering it, you're not so sure, you might be eligible, great time to call in at 737+. All right, what is in the booster shot, doctor? Is this the same formula, the same dose? Let's say if I were eligible for a booster, which I'm not right now, I'm not in one of those groups, but if I were, I got the Moderna booster back in May. The second shot was in May, so there'd be plenty of time now. I'd be probably ready to go here any month now. What's in this booster? What should I expect?
Yeah, so if you were to get a Moderna booster, that dose is 50% of the original dose, and that is, that dose is determined, of course, in all of these studies that we discussed, kind of maximizing efficacy for what you want the result to be and minimizing side effects. And as some of the listeners may be aware, that the Moderna vaccine dose was a little bit higher than that for the Pfizer. Otherwise, Pfizer would be the same, J&J would be the same. So it's the Moderna dose that's reduced.
That's reduced, okay. And speaking of reduced doses, I know that now we're moving into vaccinating groups of children, and this would be a reduced dose across the board, right?
That's right. Well, the FDA did issue an EUA for Pfizer for children of 5 to 11 years old, and the dose that was studied there was about 1/3 of the dose for older children and adults. Yeah. So
but it still would be 2 shots for children?
That's right. It still would be 2 shots. They still need that kind of prime and the boost that we talked about to get that maximal effect.
That process, right.
Reduced dose for smaller bodies.
So right now, just Pfizer, but we're expecting Moderna and J&J perhaps to come along in the coming weeks and months?
Yes. Fairly certain that will come along to follow, and the FDA is kind of just utilizing the same process that we talked about to look at the data for each of these vaccines as they're available.
All right, let's go to the phones. We have Michael on line 1. Michael, thanks for calling in. What's on your mind?
Hi, I received the Johnson & Johnson back in March at the event down at Nissan Stadium.
Okay.
And actually tomorrow I have an appointment to do the Moderna as a booster.
Right.
And I was kind of torn between that or doing another J&J. So I'll hang up and listen. I'd like to hear your response, doctor. Thanks.
Yes. Okay. We're talking mix and match now. I'm glad we got to this. This was on my list. What do you say, doctor?
Michael, thanks for calling in. The guidance here is helpful and confusing because the CDC is kind of leaving it up to individuals to decide, what they prefer. We've been waiting for this J&J data to come out, and we're all happy in the medical community that we have data for boosting for this population. It seems like the mRNA vaccines seem to have provided a little bit more robust protection than J&J, but they've all been quite effective at preventing the things that we're most concerned about, hospitalization and obviously death. So there's a little bit of just, if you have a specific preference, if you felt like you tolerated the first dose really nicely and didn't have side effects and don't want to explore a new vaccine. But there really isn't a strict guidance or preference for which one you get. So it's kind of good and bad. It's a little bit up to you, which one you may prefer. Yeah.
Is it safe to say that if I were to call my doctor and ask him that question, he or she may say, preferably, I'd like you to get stick with the same manufacturer, but if I really needed a booster, if my doctor felt I needed a booster, I'm sure he or she would prefer me getting anything rather than nothing.
I think you're right. I think that there's a little bit of a party line where, These things initially were studied, in one way with the same vaccine for the initial and the booster. We've just started to get it into the mix and match. That was really driven by experience in the UK with an AstraZeneca vaccine that was ultimately pulled. And then people who got that first dose had to figure out what else they could get and how effective it would be. So that wasn't the strategy initially, but now, we're in a situation where, it may be what's most beneficial for people to do quickly. So I think if you tolerated the first one well, it's totally fine to stick with what you've gotten in the beginning. But definitely you can always have that conversation with your provider and see if there's a specific preference that may be dictated by your circumstance. Yeah.
All right, let's go to Sandra next. Hi, Sandra. Welcome to OpenLine.
Thank you. I had a question about getting I had both Pfizer boosters last year, and I had a light case of COVID in February last year. Okay, and then in June, I had a rash on the back of my neck after being outside in the sun, and I had sunscreen on and everything. But anyway, I am a cancer patient this year. I got DCIS, and I've got to have radiation therapy after having surgery. And what I'm wondering is, if I took the Pfizer vaccine this month, would it make me sensitive to the radiation treatment? And or should I wait and take it afterwards?
Right.
Because I've read 2 different cases on online where one person took theirs before they had this radiation therapy, and they were extra sensitive to it after taking the COVID shot. And another person waited 6 months later and had their booster shot, and they got sensitive to the radiation.
Well, real quick, before we go to the doctor, Sandra, you said you got both Pfizer shots last year?
Yes,
the initial ones?
I had a case of COVID before the shots came out in February.
And when was the last shot, the Pfizer shot that you got? Do you remember the second one?
March.
In March of this year.
The
Okay.
end of March.
So you'd be eligible, and may I ask your age?
68.
68. All right, doctor, we got that information. Go ahead.
Thank you, Sandra. Thanks for calling in. And Rhori is taking your history, is helping me out here. So it sounds like you have a number of risk factors to put you in a high risk category for acquiring COVID-19 again. The first is just having a weakened immune system, and so I'm not sure what the extent is of your cancer treatment. I'm really sorry to hear that you have cancer that you're needing to get treated for. But being on having an active cancer diagnosis and being on chemotherapy, that's a population where we actually several months ago recommended getting a third dose of vaccine, even a month after your second dose. So I'm not sure. I think I heard that you had 2 doses and not 3.
Right.
And in that population, it's because people who have had weakened immune systems from cancer or a number of other reasons didn't actually have the same immune response to the 2 doses of vaccine that the rest of the population had. And so you may be in a category where you really would be encouraged to get an additional dose of the vaccine as soon as possible.
Now, what about her question, doctor, I'm sorry, about the radiation treatment and possible interaction there?
Yeah, that's something that I'm not familiar with. I have not heard of any reactions that are related to radiation therapy and COVID vaccine.
So the best bet here is, for her, I'm sure she now has an oncologist who is helping her, plus her primary. Sit down and talk to them, and the likelihood, what you're saying is her oncologist would go ahead and encourage her to get that booster to protect her immune system.
I would think so. I would think so.
Well, good luck. Good luck to you, Sandra. Really good call and good question, and we wish you the very best. Let's keep on. We got the calls coming in now. We got Jerry up next. Hey, Jerry.
How are you doing this evening?
Doing well. Thanks for your call. What's on your mind?
If a state judge acts without authority and jurisdiction, i.e., if the trial court acts and harms a litigant while his final order is under appeal, does he have any immunity for that?
Well, are you talking specifically about COVID-19?
Well, it was during that, and the administrative office of the courts had told the judicial districts to reduce sentences for nonviolent offenders, etc. So, yeah, not directly speaking to COVID-19, but that's mixed in with it. Yeah,
Right.
sir.
All right. Well, I'm sorry, we probably can't help you tonight. We had a different expert on here with legal, but we have lawyers on all the time and state politicians that maybe can help answer that question. So I apologize, Jerry. I want to get back to what you were talking about, Doctor, earlier about, confusion and mixed messages and so many people, as this has become such a political hot potato, this issue, which I know is frustrating for someone like you on the medical side. And but anyway, I try to explain to people, this is something, let's put it this way. If our health experts, our leaders had come out in the very beginning of this and explained to everyone that this is going to be a roller coaster ride, and what we tell you this month may change next month because we're going to we've never dealt with anything quite like this, and we're going to be researching it as time goes on, and when we get new batches of studies in, as we study this, our recommendations may change, whether it has to do with shots or boosters or masks, anything and everything. Just be prepared and be flexible. What do you say to that?
I think you're right. I mean, I think that we've learned a lot about what is not effective in communicating about health, and in a space that's so dynamic, where we're learning literally every day. New studies are being published every single day about COVID-19 and various aspects of it. We in the medical community are very humbled by this process, but I think you're right. Setting expectations at the outset would have been very engendering the trust that is needed to keep people along for this ride, and to make sure that people are actually buying into the messages that we're delivering, even if they have to shift and be more refined and nuanced over time. So I agree. Yeah.
All right. Back to the phones we go. Dawn is next. Hi, Dawn. Dawn, you there?
Yes, hello.
Yeah, go ahead and just mute your television set and talk over the phone, and we're ready to go. Thank you.
Yes, sir. I was going to ask a question about. I got two Pfizer shots.
Okay.
I had got a blood clot that was in my palm of my hand. I'm like, I never ever in my life. I'm about 40-something years old.
Okay.
I've never gotten one without getting pinched in a car door or something like that, or get your fingernail pinched, you get a blood clot that way. But my point is that it was real minor. I took my little field knife and I just plucked it out with no big deal. But now it's the 2 Pfizer shots, and I've been hearing about it on TV. Sometimes I'll get them on the top of my arm, and I'm like, okay, how did they get there? But they're just like barely under the skin.
Right, little.
Okay, I want to know how serious do I need to be concerned about blood clots? Because normally I'm not affected by blood clots.
Okay, good question.
And is there something that do we need to go to the doctor about it, or is there something wrong with my body?
Okay.
Because I ain't never got these until I took that shot. Not to try to scare people, because I'm completely healthy.
And real quick, Don, when you got your actual vaccines, were there any immediate effects, or were you okay?
No, I felt good.
Okay.
I mean, I was good. I still feel good. I'm just saying, every now and then, it just last week on my big toe, it felt like something was rising right there, and now it's gone.
Okay, let's listen to what the doctor has to say.
But it looked like it could have been some blood forming, but now it's gone.
It's fine. All right, let's listen in, Doc. What do you have to say about that?
Don, thanks so much for calling in and for asking that question. I think people may have heard about blood clots when relating to COVID vaccines, and the one that that seems to have been a little bit more problematic was the J&J vaccine, causing blood clots, particularly in young females. It seems to be the highest risk group, but it's still a rare complication. It's in about 9 out of every million doses given. What you're describing, I'm not sure if it's actually a blood clot. When we talk about blood clots in the medical clinics, we're talking about deep blood vessels that
Right.
get a blockage in them. So that may be something different that may or may not be related to your vaccine. It's not something that I've heard about as a common side effect for any of the vaccines. I would definitely just try and ask your provider about that, but I'm glad that otherwise you're feeling great, and it sounds like you've been free of COVID, which is excellent, and our hope with all of this.
All right. Don, thank you. We've got a couple more calls on hold. Be patient. We'll get to you. We're going to take a quick break and be back with more Open Line.